Along the rugged frontier between Thailand and Cambodia, a long simmering dispute has finally reached its boiling point. For years, tensions have simmered just beneath the surface, with both sides wary but hopeful that diplomacy might prevail. Now, those hopes have been dashed as the disagreement has erupted into open conflict, shattering the fragile peace that once held. The fighting is concentrated along their shared border, a region fraught with historical tension and deep-seated mistrust. Dense jungles and rugged terrain make the area difficult to control, adding to the chaos. At the heart of this conflict are ancient temples such as the revered Preah Vihear, claimed by both nations as powerful symbols of heritage, national identity, and pride. These sacred sites have become flashpoints, drawing soldiers and politicians alike. What began as a disagreement over colonial-era maps and ambiguous boundaries has escalated into a dangerous military confrontation, with both governments refusing to back down. Heavy weapons and artillery have turned once peaceful villages into war zones. The thunder of shelling echoes across the countryside, leaving destroyed homes and terrified civilians fleeing for their lives. The violence has forced thousands of troops to the front lines, as both armies mobilize in a show of strength. The world watches anxiously, fearing that this conflict could spiral into a wider war in Southeast Asia. Each side blames the other for starting the latest round of fighting, fueling a relentless cycle of accusation, retaliation, and deepening mistrust. Decades of unresolved border issues and historical grievances now fuel modern nationalism and political posturing, as leaders rally their people around old wounds and new fears. For civilians and soldiers alike, the reasons behind the conflict matter less than the immediate danger they face every day. Families are uprooted, and lives are put at risk with every new skirmish. The region is on high alert, with border checkpoints under heavy guard and neighboring countries scrambling to mediate, hoping to prevent the violence from spreading further. The conflict over ancient stones now casts a dark shadow over the present, threatening not just heritage but the fragile peace of an entire region. The world waits, hoping for urgent action and a return to dialogue before the flames consume even more. Stay ahead of the story. Subscribe to American Times News that matters for the latest updates and in-depth coverage on global events. Don't miss a moment that shapes our world. The true cost of this conflict is measured not just in statistics, but in the daily lives and suffering of ordinary people. Every shattered home, every tear-streaked face, and every family forced to flee tells a story of loss and resilience. At least 34 people have been killed so far, a number that includes both soldiers and innocent civilians caught in the crossfire. Each life lost leaves behind grieving families and broken communities. The ongoing clashes mean this tragic toll is likely to rise, as danger remains constant and unpredictable. For those living near the border, every day brings new uncertainty and fear. Over 200,000 people have been forced to abandon their homes, leaving behind their possessions, livelihoods, and the places they once felt safe. Now they face uncertain futures in overcrowded shelters, unsure if or when they can return. Schools, temples, and makeshift camps are stretched to their limits, struggling to provide even the most basic necessities like clean water, food, and medical care. The strain on these facilities grows with each passing day. Aid organizations are overwhelmed by the sheer scale of displacement, working tirelessly to deliver supplies and support, but resources are running thin and needs continue to grow. Children, the elderly, and the sick are especially vulnerable, facing harsh conditions and a lack of adequate care. The psychological trauma of violence and displacement will linger long after the fighting stops, shaping lives for years to come. The use of landmines and unexploded ordnance adds another layer of danger, creating deadly hazards that will persist for years, threatening anyone who tries to return or rebuild. Even if a ceasefire is declared, the region will remain hazardous for returning civilians. The scars of war, both visible and invisible, will take years to heal. The human cost of this war will be paid long after the guns fall silent, as families mourn their loved ones and children grow up in the shadow of conflict. In the end, it is the civilians, men, women, and children, who bear the brunt of a conflict they did not choose, enduring hardship and loss in the hope that peace will one day return. As the conflict intensifies, the situation along the Cambodia-Thailand border grows increasingly volatile. Tensions are running high, with both sides mobilizing troops and military vehicles, raising fears of a wider regional escalation. In response, the international community is stepping in to halt the violence. The United Nations has convened emergency meetings, and diplomats from around the world are urgently discussing ways to de-escalate the crisis and prevent further bloodshed. U.S. President Donald Trump has spoken directly with Thai and Cambodian leaders, urging immediate peace talks and a swift ceasefire. His administration is pushing for a diplomatic solution, emphasizing the need for restraint and dialogue. This high-level intervention brings global attention and pressure to the crisis, making it clear that the world is closely monitoring every development and expects responsible action from all parties involved. The United States' involvement adds significant weight to diplomatic efforts, signaling that the world expects de-escalation and a peaceful resolution. American diplomats are working closely with their Asian counterparts to find common ground. Meanwhile, Malaysia has offered to host and mediate the talks, providing a neutral platform for dialogue. This gesture is seen as a crucial step toward building trust between the conflicting parties. Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim will personally oversee discussions, aiming to secure a ceasefire and a path to resolution. His leadership is viewed as vital in guiding the negotiations toward a meaningful outcome. Economic consequences, including potential tariffs and disruptions to trade, have been hinted at if the conflict continues. The threat of economic instability is putting additional pressure on both governments to find a peaceful solution. This mix of diplomatic and economic pressure creates a powerful incentive for both sides to negotiate seriously. The hope is that these combined efforts will bring the parties to the table and prevent further escalation. Regional and global powers are united in their call: the fighting must stop and dialogue must begin. The message from the international community is clear: peace is the only acceptable path forward. The world is watching, expecting a return to stability in Southeast Asia. Ordinary people across the region are anxiously following the news, hoping for an end to the violence and a restoration of normal life. The stakes are too high for further delay. With families displaced and communities suffering, the urgency for peace has never been greater. The militaries of Thailand and Cambodia are starkly different. Thailand boasts a powerful, modern force with advanced air power and artillery, backed by U.S. support. Cambodia's military is smaller, less equipped, and relies heavily on Chinese aid. However, Cambodian troops know the dense, rugged terrain intimately, giving them a strategic edge in ground combat. Thailand's strategy leverages technology and long-range strikes, aiming to minimize casualties while inflicting damage. Cambodia counters with defensive tactics, landmines and booby traps to slow any Thai advance. This mismatch creates a complex battlefield. Thailand's power is checked by Cambodia's guerrilla tactics. A quick victory for either side is unlikely. A prolonged conflict would be bloody and costly. The military imbalance reinforces the urgent need for a diplomatic solution. Both sides risk heavy losses if the fighting continues. Only negotiation can prevent further destruction. The violence has triggered a massive humanitarian crisis, with over 200,000 people displaced. Families have left behind farms, businesses, and homes, escaping with only what they could carry. Temporary shelters, schools, temples, and community halls are overcrowded and lack resources. Access to clean water, food, and sanitation is a daily struggle, especially for children, pregnant women, and the elderly. Aid organizations are stretched thin, struggling to meet overwhelming needs. The psychological toll is immense. Families are separated, livelihoods lost, and uncertainty prevails. The local economy has ground to a halt, with fields unharvested and markets closed. For a region reliant on agriculture, this disruption could mean long-term hardship. The crisis is a stark reminder that war's consequences fall hardest on ordinary people. Their abandoned homes and disrupted lives demand urgent peace. The scars of displacement will last long after the conflict ends. Stability cannot return until people can safely go home. Alongside gunfire, a fierce war of words rages between Thailand and Cambodia. Each government blames the other for starting the violence, making truth elusive and diplomacy difficult. Accusations of attacks on civilian infrastructure and alleged use of cluster munitions have escalated tensions. These claims fuel nationalist sentiment, stoking public anger and hardening positions. Media on both sides amplify the narrative of aggression, making compromise politically risky. National pride and historical grievances pressure leaders to take hardline stances. The cycle of accusation and retaliation deepens mistrust, complicating negotiations. Diplomats face an uphill battle to build confidence for talks. Toning down the rhetoric is essential, but public emotions run high. Achieving peace is fraught with obstacles, chief among them deep mutual distrust. Each side sees the other as the aggressor, making a stable agreement elusive. Ongoing hostilities undermine faith in negotiations, as artillery fire drowns out calls for peace. Domestic political pressures demand leaders appear strong, limiting flexibility at the table. The border dispute is deeply emotional, tied to national identity and history. Concessions risk accusations of betrayal, making compromise difficult. The conflict's roots lie in conflicting colonial-era maps and treaties, defying easy resolution. Decades of failed talks have left frustration and hardened attitudes. Overcoming these challenges requires immense political will and courage. Only a comprehensive ceasefire and creative solutions can break the deadlock. Despite the violence, negotiation remains the only viable path out of crisis. Thai and Cambodian leaders' agreement to meet for peace talks is a hopeful sign. Malaysia's mediation offers a chance to secure a ceasefire and de-escalate. Negotiation allows both sides to pursue stability and economic well-being without admitting defeat. International support, especially from the US and Malaysia, adds legitimacy and pressure. Third-party monitoring can help build trust and ensure compliance. The process is difficult, but essential to break the cycle of violence. Choosing dialogue over conflict is the only way forward. The upcoming talks are a critical moment to silence the guns. Sustainable peace depends on commitment to negotiation. A ceasefire is only the beginning. Lasting peace requires addressing root causes. Thailand and Cambodia must resolve the border demarcation issue, possibly with international legal help. Rebuilding trust will take time, with governments promoting reconciliation and people-to-people connections. Cultural exchanges and joint ventures can help heal divisions and foster mutual respect. Clearing landmines and supporting displaced people are vital for recovery. Addressing the human cost shows real commitment to peace. Both nations must embrace a shared vision for stability and prosperity. As ASEAN members, they can frame their relationship around peaceful cooperation. The path to lasting peace is long, requiring patience and compromise. The work must begin now, building a foundation for future generations.